and credibility. Because after all, no scientific model's got perfect integrity and credibility, but it has to demonstrate at least some. And what you notice in the court cases that they had both Christian research scientists and non-Christian research scientists testify that the young Earth creationist model lacked that credibility and integrity. In fact, some of them said it was no better than what you see in the flat Earth hypothesis. And that kind of got the attention of the justices and saying, well, if the credibility is that low, there's no way that we can permit this as part of the science education curriculum. But their whole point was if it had integrity, the religious underpinnings of their model would have had no bearing. And as I point out in the chapter, that's what's true of Big Bang cosmology. Big Bang cosmology has tremendous theological implications. But because it's based on sound science, it's permitted in spite of its religious implications. It is permitted in the United States. What I point out in the chapter is that in the Soviet Union, there were researchers there that were forbidden to talk about Big Bang cosmology in their public lectures and their science education classrooms because the communist authorities, coming from an atheistic perspective, could see how powerfully Big Bang cosmology argued for the God of the Bible. So in Soviet Russia, they ruled against it, but that's because they didn't have the constitution that we have here in America.
Yeah. Hugh, someone might say, Dr. Ross, the 2005 case, if I remember correctly, in Dover, Pennsylvania.
Right.
In that case, it wasn't young Earth creationism on trial. If I recall correctly, it was intelligent design. So wouldn't that go against what you're saying here, that it's not just the young Earth creationist model?
What I point out in this chapter is that the court proceedings are all public domain. So you can go on the web and actually see what happened in all these court cases, including the Dover court case. In the case of the Dover, there's a lot of pages to read. But what you'll discover there is that the plaintiffs were able to point out that the intelligent design proponents were also young Earth creationists. And therefore, what I point out earlier in the book is that one of the reasons there's such a strong reaction to the intelligent design movement is that many within the scientific community see it as simply a veil to hide young Earth creationism. And that's why we've been encouraging here at Reasons to Believe our friends in the intelligent design movement to make a clear-cut disavowal of young Earth creationism. But so far there's been a reluctance to do that, and because of that reluctance, there is an understandable reaction to the intelligent design movement because they don't see it as being distinct from young Earth creationism, which has been ruled against in previous court cases.
Hugh, there are many people who are teachers or are interested in education. They really want to make a difference. How then should they approach this subject on campuses, whether they're teachers or they want to come in and introduce, say, for example, Reasons to Believe's model?
Well, we need to do it in the context of a scientific model and the scientific method, which means we don't come in and dogmatically preach our Christian faith. We point out the physical evidences for our Christian faith, and what I found is most effective is put out those evidences in an objective as way as possible, and then allow the students and teachers on the university or the public school campus to ask questions. We have the legal right not to preach the gospel and baptize within a public school, but we do have the right to respond to any question that's posed by the students and the faculty that are there. And, one of the things about the creation-evolution debates that are going on, they're provocative. They stimulate these kinds of questions and thoughts. And I've never had any trouble in public schools, for example, in just kind of laying out some of this new scientific evidence for a creation model in a non-dogmatic way, in a way where I apply no emotional pressure, then simply let them ask questions. And through the questions, you'll have all the opportunities you want to present your Christian faith.
Hugh, just to emphasize the point once again, I want to be clear on this. Are you saying that the Supreme Court in the various cases that you have put in this chapter has not ruled against the idea of a religious model, provided that it does have some secular, some scientific merit? In other words, you can come in and say, Jesus Christ is the creator, but here is the scientific evidence for my model. You can go in with that?
You can go in with that, but I think you also need to say, here's how you can put it to the test scientifically, here's how you can affirm it or falsify it. And also I think it's important to go in with the correct perspective that the Supreme Court justices pointed out is that any scientific explanation for the origin and history of the universe and life on it is going to be religious in nature. I mean, the atheistic model is a religion. So all scientific explanations are religious. They're inherently religious. The question is, which one of those religious perspectives has documentable integrity and credibility? I would argue that several of them have at least some integrity and credibility. And if they got some, they got the guaranteed rights from our courts to be heard at the education and research levels.
Okay, very good, Hugh. What are you going to cover in the next chapter?
The next two chapters, we're going to look at how predictions can be used as a way to put the different models to the test. Any good model needs to predict what scientists and theologians will discover in their future research. And so we're going to look at the predictive tool as a means to put these different models to the test and actually answer the question, how well have the predominant models that are out there done in the past few years of research? Because after all, 3 years ago, we stuck our neck out and made a bunch of predictions. And also we see the other proponents making their predictions. So we actually have a scorecard where we say, how well did they do?
Great. I like that, being a baseball fan. We will look forward to that. Next, we're going to combine a couple of chapters here, chapters 16 and 17, because here you're getting into a part of the model which I think is pretty intriguing, that is predictions.
Right.
So maybe a basic question to start off, how do you go about developing effective predictions of future scientific discoveries for testing the various models?
Well, that's the whole point of this book, is how can we put these different models to the test, our model in particular, but also the competing models. And what we're doing in these two chapters is recommending that perhaps the most effective tests of all are predictions, where the different models make their predictions, then we see how the predictions play out. But for those predictions to be effective, they need to be detailed, they need to be comprehensive, they need to be distinctive. And what I mean by distinctive is where they're predicting something very different than what competing models would be predicting. Then what you'll see in Chapter 16 is I give a list of 9 different tools for developing effective predictions. So what we're saying is it's not, you don't want to just make any old prediction. You want to make a prediction that's actually going to help you to put a model to the test, to affirm it, to falsify it, or to develop it to open up the door for greater detail in the model that can lead to more predictions. So that's kind of an overall summary. But you'll see 9 different tools that we list there. And the first of those tools is that it's best if you can pick predictions that have a high likelihood of being fulfilled in the relatively near future. I mean, predicting something that is technologically not even going to be within the realm of capability within the next 100 years may not be as effective as something where an instrument's coming online next month that can show the distinctives between the predictions of one model against another. So try to be short range. Then you want a good prediction is one that involves several different disciplines of science. So that might enable you to develop multiple independent tests of the prediction. You want to pick predictions where there's probably not going to be as many systematic effects, instrumental problems that could distort the measurement. And then we go on down and talk about ones that are capable of actually leading to more explanatory power if they're affirmed. I mean, just coming up with predictions that are going to affirm your model may not be adequate. What you want are things that are actually, if it does affirm your model, how can they extend your model and make it